Welcome to the Quantum Lens podcast. I'm your host, Oksana Hansen. This is a space where science meets soul, a heart-centered, conscientious podcast designed to nurture your spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being through the wisdom of quantum biology, holistic healing, and a deep self-discovery. We'll explore what it truly means to live in alignment. If you're ready to open your heart, expand your mind, you're in the right place.
All right. So today I am here to dispel one of the greatest myths in photobiomodulation, which is dosing. It's a very confusing, very hot topic. It's literally what I get questions about daily. And what I want you all to take away from this is that dosing is not something that can be generalized. It's personal. This is personal. This is something that it's going to require you to do a little bit of thinking about yourself and about what your target is in utilizing red light therapy. And then that will basically issue what your particular dose is. So the title of my talk is that your dose is not my dose. And that is because dosing is very individualized. And in this talk, I will point out all of the different variables that you should consider. And I will take you from protocol to precision and personalization and move you from a calculator into a compass as far as how you're going to be thinking about using photobiomodulation for you, for your friends, for your family, for your clients, for your patients. Oh, I didn't get the...
Great.
And I just press create. All right, so what are the variables? Age. Age is a factor. And this is a factor because as you age, your mitochondria do not have the energy output that you once had when you were 21. So a 21-year-old using photobiomodulation, their dosing will be very different from a 73-year-old. This is going to lead into the next topic, the next variable, which is heteroplasmy. Your heteroplasmy is your percentage of dysfunctional mitochondria. This can be systemic, so meaning your entire body. What is the percentage of dysfunction within the body? But this is also very site-specific. It can be tissue-specific. It can be organ-specific. You could, as someone with fertility issues, there is a higher heteroplasmy in those reproductive organs. So we would dose differently for situations like that. Someone with liver disease or kidney disease, those organs have higher heteroplasmy. That would require a different dose, a different mindset, from systemic to localized. Next, you should consider your haplotype. Your haplotype is your genetic zip code. Where are you from? What do your cells sync to? Are you a Northern European haplotype, which requires a different kind of light stimulus? Or are you an equatorial haplotype, which requires a much higher light stimulus in order to get that end result that you're looking for? Haplotype then leads into skin type. Your Fitzpatrick skin type is a factor. And this is because the more melanin in your skin, the more that melanin is going to absorb that light at the surface. And melanin loves to drink up that red light. It loves to capture it and hold it and not get it into that deeper tissue, which is where you need it. So your Fitzpatrick skin type is a factor. And lighter skin requires less light. Darker skin requires more light, much how we think about sunlight as well. Darker skin requires more sunlight. Then the other factor would be your light exposure and your latitude. So where do you live? I just recently had a consult with a gentleman this week that indicated to me that he had moved from New York to Florida. And I thought, great, you're in a good light environment. We can work with that. And then he said, but I'm a lawyer. I'm inside 12 hours a day on my computer. Okay, now we're talking about something different. So your light environment as far as where you live Living in Canada, living in Florida, we're talking about different light dosing. More deeper into that is how much are you accessing the light that is available to you? So living in Canada but being outside 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day is better than living in Florida and being inside 12 hours a day. So these are just things to consider, which would point toward what is your photonic deficiency, and then what is your overexposure to those harmful lights, LEDs, God forbid fluorescents, things like that. Another factor, Carrie Bennett, hydration, your hydration status. So your hydration level dictates how that light propagates into your tissue. Hydration is vitally important. So, these are all of the factors that you need to think about in how are you going to use this amazing modality that we have available to us. What are you dosing for? What are we talking about? Are you looking at a systemic dose of light? Are you looking to treat the entire body, the entire system? Or are you looking to treat something localized? Again, this goes back to heteroplasmy. There is a systemic dose of light and there is a localized dose of light. Systemic dosing is something like a large red light panel that many of you have, or now, beautifully, the full body red light therapy mat. Those modalities, that's what builds that battery. So think of it as, taking your system from a 9-volt battery to a car battery. You're building that battery with a systemic dose of red light therapy. Localized, think the torch. Localized is providing that light information to fix the broken circuit within the battery. And this is going to require a different dosing strategy. The all evasive biphasic dose response. Everyone likes to talk about the biphasic dose response. I'm here to tell you that it's real, but it's personal, and it's site specific. So I've talked to all of the leading researchers in photobiomodulation, and this was the big question: tell me about the biphasic dose response. Is this something we need to consider? And for those of you that may not know what biphasic dose response is, there's this supposed Goldilocks zone of red light therapy where if you do too little, you may not get the output of light and output of effectiveness that you're looking for. So you may not get the response that you are desiring. And then there's the Goldilocks zone. And then if you do too much, you're not going to get the response that you were hoping for. And some people say it may even be detrimental. I have never seen that happen. Never. In 5 years of working with people clinically, never once have I seen someone have an absolute negative response to red light therapy. So I need to really dispel that fear that everyone had of, I don't want to do too much. I don't want to do too much. It won't be good for me. The worst thing I have ever seen happen in 5 years, and I can't even tell you the number of people, the worst thing that ever happened was a headache. That resolved very quickly. So let's just dispel that fear, okay? But again, like the biphasic dose response, there's a systemic dose, and then there is a localized site-specific dose, and those are different. Again, going back to the heteroplasmy, going back to, are you building the battery? Are you focusing on the circuit, the break in the circuit? Timing. Timing is a big factor in red light therapy. There's the circadian and the infradian. So let's take the infradian. When you want to look at your red light therapy, think of it in terms of the year, of the full 12 months. I do almost no full body systemic red light therapy in the summer because I get 12 hours of sunlight a day. I'm outside all day. I don't require systemic red light therapy. I've already gotten enough light therapy from being outside. In the fall and the winter, that changes. I certainly utilize red light therapy far more when I don't have access to good light. that I then need to supplement with red light therapy during those times of year. And I've often said to people, more red, less dread, right? So in those dark days in the winter, more red light is what will carry you through. And I have found this clinically with my patients. It gets them through the winter in a much better mindset and a much better, health than they ever had prior to doing it. So fall, winter, dark times, very, very beneficial. And that's when you need to sort of think about how you're going to use your red light therapy throughout the year, throughout the infradian system. Then there's the circadian. Light cannot be separated from time. The two are intrinsically synced. So when you do your red light therapy is also something to consider. And I've always said to my patients, do it when nature has designed for it, when your cells are expecting to be receiving that red light therapy is when you should be providing that red light therapy. So morning red light therapy, it's very energizing. It primes your mitochondria. It gets you going. It's invigorating. That's when you want to be doing your red light therapy, is right around, never replacing sunrise, never, always as a complement to your sunrise. Add it in a bit after that sunrise session that you've already gotten. You can then step inside and bathe your body in that red light, in those early morning hours when it's expecting it. And what I'm finding now is probably one of the most interesting things is I typically was not a proponent of having patients do red light therapy in the evening because it could be circadian disruptive, it could be overstimulating. And there's a bit of truth to that. But what I'm finding now in working with patients with the full body mat is, and also with the panel. So using something like the panel on the near infrared setting only, not the very stimulating, very intense red, but just the very, calm, more subdued near infrared. Use the panel on the near infrared setting or the mat. I'm finding with the mat that you can use all the wavelengths in the evening. And this is dropping people into that parasympathetic tone that we all desperately need in the evening. Getting patients into that parasympathetic, dropping that cortisol, igniting that rest, recover, influencing the body to produce that intracellular melatonin. This has been one of the most fun things that has happened recently that I'm really paying attention to, and I'm finding such tremendous benefit across the board with my patients in utilizing red light therapy in the evening. So 2 components. AM is very invigorating, PM very parasympathetic, very beneficial. Let's talk about research. I think we've all started to understand that we need to question research across the board. All research needs to be looked at. The legacy research in photobiomodulation typically focused on single wavelengths. They wanted to isolate a wavelength. They wanted to use a laser. They wanted to treat one tiny little spot on a mouse, not a person, and sort of see what this did. Research job was to, number one, show if it worked or not, and then try to understand the mechanism of how it worked, which is very different from a clinician. A clinician is a problem solver. They're gonna take the information from the researcher, and then they're gonna look at the person in front of them and say, how can I push the limits? How can I push up against the fence on this? And how can I get my patient better to achieve the result that they're hoping for, stepping sometimes outside the bounds of research? And one of my favorite analogies about, research versus clinical experience is in the researchers years ago, they were studying this medication, this pharmaceutical that had tremendous benefit to hypertension. And then they started using it on people It got through all of the clinical trials. It got all of the approval. Then they started using it on people, and they found that it had a far bigger effect. And we now have Viagra. So research and clinical application can sometimes be a little bit different, can sometimes lead you down a completely different path. So that's the difference. And also, in the research, in all of the prior research up until very recently, the researchers did not understand the systemic effect of red light therapy and what exactly was happening. Their approach to it, their mindset was, well, it's acting on the electron transport chain. Okay, yes, it is. And then the 2020 study came out, and researchers, and I've been in meetings with researchers where they referred to this systemic effect of photobiomodulation as magic. That's the word that they use, magic. So, and then we started to understand in 2020 when they found that there is circulating mitochondria in the blood, which we didn't know this before. And so the researchers thought, oh, okay, well, maybe that's what's happening. But that circulating mitochondria in the bloodstream does not have an electron transport chain. So then they say, okay, well, maybe that's not it. 2020 study shows while it doesn't have an electron transport chain, it does have a fully functioning cytochrome C oxidase. It's the water. It's the water. It's building the battery. It's expanding that exclusion zone of water. Now, moving forward, we also have Scott Zimmerman talking about electron tunneling. This is a quantum mechanism. This is what gives that quantum effect, that immediate effect of red light therapy that everyone experiences when you do it. So I believe the next 10 years, we will start building the foundation of research on the water and then expanding into quantum tunneling. Then we're going to get some real answers. And I think we're going to land at a place that everyone will have a much more thorough understanding of what exactly is happening and how exactly we should be utilizing this unbelievable, highly, highly effective modality. Final thoughts. Light isn't just an external force. It is an internal dialogue with your terrain. Light is the software that runs the hardware of the human body. This is the information that your mitochondria understand. Light is the mitochondria's love language. It knows exactly what to do with that information, and it does it with 100% efficiency, making it such an effective, safe, unbelievably useful and natural modality for everyone to be utilizing. I also want to touch on another thing that I'm really having some fun with is in guiding my patients, be intuitive. Listen to yourself. Your body knows what you need. I have experienced this myself. I have stood in front of my panel with my thought about dose for the day, thinking, okay, I'm going to give myself 20 minutes. It's winter. I'm needing that little nudge of light. And I'll get 10 minutes into it and say, I'm done. Just something intuitively says, I'm done. And I shut it off and I walk away. Then there are days that all of a sudden I'll just feel, I need some light. I could use some light right now. And I will move toward the light. Your body will tell you what you need. It's your job to listen to that information. This is the way the system works. Your biology is going to speak to you. You have to reduce the signal to noise ratio and start to understand that and move toward that. So that's those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on light.
Thank you for tuning in to the Quantum Lens podcast. I hope this episode brought you insight, inspiration, and a deeper connection to your journey. If you've loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Let's keep this conversation going. And until next time, keep aligning, expanding, and embrace the magic of who you are.